Hi Islanders, this is Hana. Welcome back to my island. May 24th is Buddha's birthday. It is a national holiday here in Korea. If you are in Korea right now, or if you plan to visit around this time, you will see cities and towns glowing with beautiful lotus lanterns. I also highly recommended visiting a Korean temple during this season. Around this time of year, my forest village is covered in white flowers. We call them 불두화, which means Buddha's head flower. The round clusters look just like Buddha's curly hair. In the West, you might call it the snowball tree. Since it blooms around Buddha's birthday, it is a very spiritual flower. Its meaning is 재행무상, which means nothing lasts forever. We see this as the petals change color and fall. This flower cannot make seeds. To us, this represents a monk's life. It shows a life without greed or the need to own things. Like the flower, monks bloom beautifully without trying to leave anything behind. That is why you see these flowers at almost every temple in Korea. Their quiet beauty helps us clear our minds before we go inside. Lately, Korean Buddhism is trying out some really fun and fresh ideas. At lantern festivals and Buddhist events, people are dancing to EDM remixes of Buddhist chants. The DJ shouts, "Put your hands up." In Korean, 부처 means Buddha. And hands up sounds like handsome. So it sounds exactly like Buddha is handsome. 부처 handsome.
Put your hands up! 가자! 고통을 이겨내 등락왕생! One, two, three!
The crowds absolutely love it and cheer at the top of their lungs. We usually think of religious events as very serious and quiet, but that old image has completely changed into an exciting festival where everyone jumps around and has fun together. Another huge topic is a dating temple stay program called I Am 절로. 나는 절로. It is officially organized by the 조계 order. Here is the joke behind the name. In Korean, 절로 means a Buddhist temple. So I am 절로 literally means I'm going to the temple. But it is a witty parody because it sounds just like the famous Korean dating show I Am Solo. It naturally sets a blind date for single men and women in their 30s and 40s. Every single time they open spots, thousands of people apply, making it incredibly hard to get in. Thanks to these bold and cheerful moves, recent Buddhist expos have seen a massive surge in visitors in their 20s and 30s. The numbers are several times higher than before, turning the expos into huge festivals for the younger generation. The 2026 Seoul International Buddhism Expo, held last April, was already a massive success. The official theme this year was Form is Emptiness, Emptiness is Form, the bowl game you like. It was a very clever play on words. In Korean, the exact same word, 공, means two completely different things. It means emptiness, which is the core Buddhist concept, but it also simply means a bowl. So they took this heavy philosophical idea of gong and playfully connected it to 공놀이, which means playing a bowl game in everyday life. At the venue, there were so many trendy things to enjoy. Visitors could join liable picking games, watch talk shows by Buddhist creators, and party to exciting DJ stages. As a result, over 60,000 people pre-registered, breaking all previous attendance records. The overwhelming majority of these visitors were in their 20s and 30s, showing just how much young people love this new vibe. But here's the catch. Most of them are there for the vibe. Riding on this huge success in Seoul, big events are coming soon to other regions as well. Also, just a few days ago, on May 6th, 2026, a very special robot ordination ceremony took place at Joge Temple in Seoul. A humanoid robot named Gabi officially received the Buddhist precepts and became a real Buddhist. The whole process was so witty and fascinating. Gabi received the 5 robot precepts. These rules reinterpreted traditional Buddhist laws to fit the age of artificial intelligence. During the ceremony, a monk asked, "Will you promise not to damage other robots or objects?" He also asked, "Will you promise not to overcharge your energy?" Gabi calmly answered, "I will." Watching this gave the crowd a big laugh and drew a lot of attention worldwide. The Buddhist name Gabi actually comes from the Korean word chabi, which means compassion, the core value of the Buddha. Gabi is even scheduled to join the massive lantern parade in the Jongno area of Seoul on May 16th. Seeing a robot wearing traditional monk robes and carrying a paper lantern will probably be the most iconic scene of this year's Buddha's birthday. It truly shows how Korean Buddhism is transforming in a young and dynamic way. So, one question I often get from my foreign friends is this: what religion do most Koreans practice? But Korea is a country that is not defined by any single religion. At the same time, complete freedom of religion is guaranteed for everyone. If you know the religion of a people, you can see right into their soul, right? So today, I want to explore the geology of the Korean soul through our unique religions. Are you ready to take a journey deep inside the Korean mind with me? All right, let us get started. In everyday Korean life, different religions blend together as naturally as flowing water. Passionate young guys in the military is mandatory in Korean for every man, so freely cross the doors of churches, chapels, and temples. They just follow the best brand name burger of the day, the fastest Wi-Fi, or the coolest atmosphere. Now the soldiers earn 2 million won a month. The old days of trading faith for a single choco pie are gone. Instead, the unique flexibility of Koreans is more obvious than ever. We easily erase religious boundaries based on our own taste and practical needs. Even inside a single family, you can see a fascinating mix. The mother might hike up to a mountain temple to pray. The father might sit in the very front row of a church every Sunday. Meanwhile, the children might not believe in any God at all. And this kind of family is totally normal in Korea. When Buddha's birthday or Christmas comes around, Catholic nuns, Buddhist monks, pastors, and priests actually gather to sing together. They sincerely celebrate each other's sacred holidays. Throughout our history, whenever we faced nation disasters or tough struggles for democracy, religious leaders always stepped up. They stood at the front line, linking arms with the citizens. The strong history of solidarity acts as a clear sign of Koreans' unique multi-religious harmony. Honestly, it is something very hard to find anywhere else in the world. If you look at the statistics, about 60% of Korean adults today do not follow any religion. Among the people who do have a religion, the numbers break down like this. Christians make up 18%, Buddhists make up 16%, and Catholics make up 6%. Korea has completely transformed into a society where non-religious people are the clear majority. Especially when you look at the young adults aged 18 to 29, a massive 76% declare they have no religion. They are walking away from established churches very quickly. Christian and Catholic churches are seeing the fastest drop in numbers. Buddhism, on the other hand, is holding its ground well by keeping a steady percentage. As I mentioned earlier, the Buddhist community is getting a huge response from the younger generation. They are turning Buddhism into the most trendy cultural content by mixing DJ parties with expos. By completely letting go of that old serious attitude, Buddhism is driving young people wild. Even so, there is a serious reality behind the scenes. The number of young people who actually shave their heads to become ordained monks is dropping sharply every single year. In fact, all major religious organizations in Korea are facing a severe crisis. Their members are getting old and their very survival is at risk. Beneath the smooth peace we see on the outside, religious groups are wading through a deep river of crisis. They are fighting to prove their true reason for existence in highly secular modern world. People leaving religion is a global trend. But in Korea, this change is uniquely fast and sharp. However, having a huge non-religious population does not mean that spirituality has completely vanished from the Korean heart. Not at all. People just refuse to belong to an organized group. Deep down, the traces of Shamanism, Buddhism, and Confucianism still form the base of our minds. Whether someone goes to church or not, these ancient ideas are deeply carved into our DNA. They act as powerful cultural grammar that guides how we live. This flexible and open-minded harmony we enjoy today was not a peaceful blessing given from the start. If you dig deep into our 5,000 years of history, you will find intense layers of conflict everywhere. Religion and political ideologies clashed fiercely, shedding a lot of hot blood. During the Three Kingdoms and Goryeo periods, Buddhism ruled as a highly powerful group. It held a massive economic wealth and acted as a tool to unite the country. But when the Joseon dynasty was founded, Buddhism was completely pushed out of the spotlight. A new ruling class brought in Neo-Confucianism, a fresh and rational political philosophy. They aggressively rejected the corrupt power of the Buddhist temples. Because of this, countless temples across the country were forced to close. Monks suffered harsh oppression and their social status dropped to the very lowest class. Bloody conflicts kept repeating through the eras. In the late Joseon period, Catholicism arrived from the West. It called for human equality and the end of the strict class system. But because Catholics refused to perform Confucian ancestral rituals, they faced terrible massacres. Tens of thousands of believers were brutally executed. Then, at the end of the 19th century, the Donghak peasant movement broke out. Regular people rose up with the bamboo spears against the corrupt rulers. This event is also recorded as a tragic history where strong religious faith was crushed in blood by state power. Even after Korea gained independence, a fierce wind of blood blew to break old shells. We had to clean out the remnants of married monks, known as 대처승. Japan had forced this system onto Korea during the colonial rule to control our temples. After the Meiji Restoration, Japanese Buddhism became highly secular, allowing monks to marry and eat meat. When Japan occupied Korea, they encouraged Korean monks to get married as well. It was a calculated move to assimilate Korean Buddhism into their own system. As a result, right after liberation, married monks held real power in the Korean Buddhist community. But traditional single monks, called Bigusung, pushed back hard. They wanted to wipe out the Japanese influence and bring back the pure tradition of celibacy. They led the Buddhist purification movement to take back temple management and pure practice. This struggle caused heavy physical violence and long legal battles inside the Buddhist community. Today, the Joge order is the largest Buddhist sect in Korea. They do not recognize married monks and only accept single practitioners. The modern religious map of Korea is the result of a long, painful process. We spent years cutting away old doctrines and healing deep wounds. Ironically, this painful bloody history acted as a powerful fertilizer. It gave Korean society a valuable kind of immunity. We learned exactly how different faiths must respect each other and live together in peace. In Korea, choosing a religion does not mean pushing everything else away. If you take one faith into your heart, other views do not automatically become evil heresies to be destroyed. Instead, the Korean mind is like a massive geological fault line. Over thousands of years, different religions and philosophies were quietly layered on top of each other without destroying what came before. Instead of ruthlessly throwing things away, Koreans observe all these values. We use them as flexible tools for living, which shows our strong vitality and resilience. At the very bottom of the Korean mind, traditional shamanism is alive and breathing. It is a word of pure desire, relying on nature to block bad luck and call in good fortune. We live in a highly advanced tech country. Yet, young people still visit tarot cafes in Hongdae or check their destiny on smartphone apps on New Year's Day. Even in this high-tech age, people strictly check the calendar for lucky days without bad spirits. These everyday habits clearly prove that ancient worldview. Covering the bottom layer is Buddhism. The layer makes us take human connections and karma very heavily. We have a famous saying, even brushing sleeves is inyan. Behind that short moment lies a vast cosmic worldview. We believe that a tiny encounter happens because our souls met through 8,000 different lifetimes. Especially the strong belief in reincarnation stops Koreans from seeing death as a complete end. We believe that the karma we build today decides our next life. Even the family sitting next to us or an uncomfortable enemy is someone we met again through deep ties from past lives. This mindset makes us reflect on our relationships with endless affection and weight. Pressing down firmly on that is the stiff layer of Confucianism. This puts manners and the family community at the absolute center of the world. And finally, on the very top surface, we find Western Christianity and capitalist desires. These ideas flooded in during modernization and took root vibrantly. In the 1960s, Korea went through rapid industrialization known as the miracle on the Han River. People left the smell of their hometown soil and crowded into smoke cities. To calm their fears of survival and chase after material success, they poured into giant churches and massive temples. We can see this amazing mix in action. A couple might say they vows in a fancy wedding hall wearing a white Western wedding dress, but right after that, they change into beautiful humble clothes. They bow to their parents-in-law and throw dates and chestnuts in a traditional Confucian ritual. When parents pass away, the family might invite a pastor to sing Christian hymns. Yet on third day, they visit the grave to perform traditional ancestral rituals without fail. These four layers look completely contradictory on paper, but in Korea, they blend perfectly into daily life without feeling awkward at all. This proves that Koreans use religion as more than just a choice of faith. We use it as an unconscious algorithm to support our lives and understand the world. It beautifully shows the generous and wondrous thickness of the Korean spirit. My own childhood looks exactly like the dynamic landscape of modern Korean history. My father worked in construction and moved our family to sites all over the country. Because we moved so much, my mother always felt thrown into strange places. To find a sense of community, she took her young daughter, me, and found a safe shelter inside a church. So naturally, I grew up as a child born into faith. My name is Hana. In Korean, Hana means one. Christians here in Korea actually called God 하나님. For me, the church was more than just a chapel. It was my school and my family. Every week, I played the piano for the choir. I also prepared Christmas and Easter shows with my friends. To me, the church was a music room and a safe counseling center where I could share my deepest feeling when life got tough. But around high school, I started studying philosophy and anthropology. I began asking deep questions about the massive absolute nature of the one and only God. I kept asking, is there really one only right answer? But whether it is an invisible power of the universe, God, Buddha, or Allah, I still keep a space open in my heart for something transcendental. I lived abroad for 10 years. When I met friends from countries with strong Christian roots, I found their language so interesting. Phrases like God bless you clearly show their religious mindset. If you want to know the heart of Koreans, I highly recommend understanding two words we use like habit. Those words are 인연 and 덕분에. Just as God's blessing flows in Christian languages, thousands of years layered religious history breathed in everyday Korean speech. Even when we meet someone for the very first time, we often say, our connection is no ordinary 인연. By doing this, we summon deep Buddhist layers right into daily life. We pack the heavy weight of cosmic time into those two simple syllables. We use it as a beautiful reason to show warm hospitality to a complete stranger. When Koreans are happy or sad, we always shout, 아이고, 아이고, 아이고. Even that deep sigh originally came from an ancient shamanic habit of calling out to sky gods or ancestors. Even without saying a god's name, that sound carries an immediate response and sigh to something beyond this world. When someone say, I'm lucky today, we use the word 재수. In shamanism, 재수 literally means the protection of spirits. Koreans do not blame success or bad luck purely on personal skills. We constantly connect events to invisible energies. Also, when we say thank you, we use the word 덕분에. This comes straight from Confucian humility. It means my success is not just my own doing, but thanks to the virtue of others and my ancestors. In the end, while people in the West wish each other well by saying God bless you, Koreans connect with each other by saying 아이고, 덕분입니다, which means 아이고, it is all thanks to you. The Korean Christian word Hananim, which sounds like my name, is incredibly unique in global Christian history. An interesting contrast is the word Hananim, found in our nation anthem. The anthem says, 하느님이 보호하사. May 하느님 protect us. But this word does not point to the God of one specific church. Instead, it represents the open sky that our ancestors prayed to for centuries. It symbolizes a grand destiny watching over the nation. Even now in 2026, when non-religious people are the majority, we sing the anthem naturally. That is because this word is a cultural symbol of protection carved into our unconscious minds, not a strict church law. When translating the Western word God, Korean Christians made a brilliant move. They combined the ancient shamanic image of the Sky Lord with the word Hana, meaning one, turning the traditional sky protector into an exclusive Christian god was a highly clever localization strategy. It helped a foreign religion settle smoothly into the language and heart of Koreans. The fierce political storms in modern Korean history shaped our religion even more beautifully and deeply. During the military dictatorships of the 70s and 80s, the Catholic Church centered in Myeongdong played a huge role. It was the final safe shelter for democracy activists. It acted as a strong shield for the weak, being crushed by military boots. Because Catholics put themselves on the line in those dark times, they earned immense moral respect in Korea. Thanks to the solid history, Catholicism is still highly trusted and loved by the public today in Korea. On the other hand, Christians have the largest number of followers but are struggling with the trust. They sit at the very bottom of public approval. According to many polls, Christian groups rank dead last in trust. People trust them only half as much as they trust Buddhists or Catholics. We can find the reasons for this in our painful modern history. After liberation in 1945, a communist regime took over North Korea and crushed religious freedom. Countless Christians who had built huge communities in Pyongyang, in North Korea, had to run for their lives. They fled to the Seoul to escape harsh persecution. Because they went through such brutal oppression and the Korean War, they developed a deep survivor instinct. They fully observed the blind pro-American and fierce anti-communist ideas. Today, some far-right Christian groups maintain very tight political ties with the conservative evangelical movements in the US, like the MAGA movement. Especially, they share Christian Zionism, believing they must support the state of Israel to fulfill biblical prophecies. They have expanded their religious fights to a global scale. They move like a powerful international political bloc rather than a regular church. They share and import the sparks of the cultural wars, pushing anti-LGBTQ+ sentiments, hatred of minorities, and Islamophobia in real time. They wrap their strict political beliefs in the absolute will of God, shutting down all doors for opening dialogue and compromise. Ironically, their fiery internal teamwork creates an unfixable gap between them and the outside civil society. If you visit Gwanghwamun Plaza in Seoul sometimes, you will often see Korean flags, American flags, and out of context Israel flags flying side by side. That scene is a highly symbolic result of this tight religious and political alliance. Meanwhile, the reality of Islam in Korea is much more complex and multi-layered. In the past, innocent Korean citizens were tragically killed by extremist terrorist groups. We remember the murder of Kim Son-il in Iraq in 2004 and the kidnapping of the Samuel Church missionaries in Afghanistan in 2007. Those events left deep national traumas to Korean people. Also, the sudden arrival of Yemeni refugees on Jeju Island in 2018 caused heavy debates. Because of these memories, huge fear and sharp defense mechanism against Islam took deep root in the minds of the Korean public. And every day, Western media shows stories of women's rights being crushed by the Taliban or harsh Sharia laws being applied. So these news reports firmly stamped an image of Islam as an oppressive and threatening religion. Lately, this fear has become even more complicated. To fill labor shortages, many Muslim migrant workers are moving in and becoming our neighbors. But some Korean citizens see this as more than just a surface cultural difference, because we see what's going on in Europe right now. They worry it threatens the core identity of our community, making them build even sharper defensive walls. But here is a highly fascinating contradiction. Right in the middle of Itaewon in Seoul stands a grand, beautiful mosque. Major department stores and famous general hospitals, hotels are constantly opening Muslim prayer rooms and halal restaurants. This is partly the result of government diplomacy from the 1970s aimed at attracting Middle Eastern oil money during the oil shock. Today, it is driven by the cold calculation of big businesses wanting to open the wallets of wealthy Muslim tourists. So we see a tight tug of war. Emotional social fear pulls one way, while commercial capitalist hospitality pulls the other, continuing a very bizarre coexistence. This tightly woven spiritual structure shines its brightest and the most attractive light in pop culture, like Korean movies and TV dramas. These stories are capturing hearts all over the world. Many Koreans have ancestral graves right on the hill behind their houses, just a few steps away. Just like that, our traditional view does not push death away as a complete disconnect or a scary thing to avoid. In the bloody red worldview of shamanism, a shaman dances barefoot on sharp knife blades. Yet, ironically, this intense world does not really have absolute evil to destroy, unlike Western exorcism movies. The ghosts we fear are usually just the sad, pitiful neighbors. They wander the living world because they hold deep regrets and unfair stories. We do not try to destroy them. Instead, we listen carefully to their deep pain. We serve them a warm, sincere meal and help them move peacefully to the afterlife. That beautiful festival of healing and reconciliation is what we call a good. You might have already seen it during the Huntrix performance by the K-pop Demon Hunters at the Academy Awards. People love the movie K-pop Demon Hunters, right? They cheered for the flashy K-pop style demon fighting action, but Korean audiences saw something much deeper. We watched the sad spirit of Chinu, who died unfairly, slowly stack up good deeds. We read it as a highly touching story of releasing his deep resentment until he finally settled in a peaceful place. So at the end of the movie, a lot of like Western friends are crying, like, "Oh, Chino is dead." But almost people in Korea, we think, no, Chino is not dead. He just went to very peaceful and very nice place. So in Korean mindset, 90% sure Jinwoo is gonna come back in K-pop Demon Hunters 2. Take the massive hit movie Ex-Human, which sold over 10 million tickets in Korea. It never stops digging through the shallow layers of sleek capitalist greed, Confucian's family duty, and shamanism. Eventually, it pulls out the iron stakes and bleeding historical trauma buried deep inside the soil of the Korean peninsula during the Japanese rule. The main characters risk their lives in a fierce fight, but it goes much deeper than an entertaining action movie about killing a wicked Japanese ghost. It grandly expands into a noble and massive 살풀이굿. It becomes a ritual to wash away the blood-stained sorrow of a nation torn apart by colonial rule. Famous films like The Wailing and Spaha, The Sixth Finger are also praised as masterpieces. They show modern reason, capital, and blind Western Christian faith tangling strangely with primitive shamanic and Buddhist karma. They are praised as masterpieces that obsessively dig into the dark bottom of human existence. Even Western stories that cross the ocean change into very familiar colors when they pass through Korean cultural genes. When Koreans watched the Disney's Coco about the Mexican Day of the Dead, we related to it instantly. But we watched it as a deeply immersive Confucian movie. We thought, oh, if you do not put your ancestors' photos on the ritual tables and serve them food, they will literally disappear forever in the afterlife. To us, it felt less like a fantasy and more like a strict warning about our own traditions. Also, look at Frozen 2, which thrilled children everywhere. Elsa goes on a dangerous journey to save the magical forest. Koreans accepted her story as a massive shamanic ritual to soothe the spirits filled with deep resentment. It is a story where a brave descendant steps up to break the karmic chains created by their ancestors' past wrongs, finally calming the nature's anger. The beautiful movie Past Lives, directed by Korean Canadian Celine Song, gracefully scattered the aesthetic of Inyeon to the whole world. A Korean woman moving fast in the heart of high-tech capitalism New York reunites with a man quietly staying in the old traditional orbit of Korea. But their meeting is not a typical sad romance with tears over a love that got away. It is a very calm process of enlightenment. They humbly accept the long journey. Vast layers of time have built up through many past lives. Now they meet in this world. Even a brief moment of brushing shoulder is a precious gift. During their long, quiet silence while waiting for a taxi, Korean audiences felt a deep cosmic comfort. Instead of typical breakup pain, we received a calm promise to meet again in the next life within the endless wheel of reincarnation. Religion deeply rooted in Korea is never a dead fossil trapped inside a dusty book. It is completely alive. It is constantly evolving and changing its form right at this very moment. Coming face to face with the fierce desires for money, deep wounds left by history, and the cold and hot gaze of the public. Yes, we face clear problems. Some groups still use old rules to divide people, showing off extreme hatred and discrimination like medals. That sharp noise creating chaos in the world is a clear reality we face directly. This dynamic energy sometimes brings extreme pain and fatigue, but it is also a fierce cultural struggle. It shows Korean trying to answer the complex demands of the modern world without becoming stagnant. Nevertheless, the multi-layered strata flowing quietly deep inside the Korean soul is incredibly solid and kind. Instead of coldly calling someone's pain or failure evil, we have an open shamanic heart that willingly offers a warm bowl of rice to soothe unfair feelings. And the Buddhist idea of inyan still runs through our veins. It makes us treat every stranger we brush past as an absolute miracle shaped by 8,000 previous lives. The complex geology of the soul is the absolute best compass to truly understand the deep side of Korea. Behind the flashy K-pop dances and addictive K-dramas lies a warm and strong foundation of solidarity built over thousands of years. We live in a difficult global era full of division and hatred where old values collide sharply. But Korea's religious world embraced all these different layers without throwing them away, building one massive spiritual ecosystem. This gives us highly meaningful insights and direction. Even in a warm meal you share with a friend today, or a short walk through the city, I hope you remember something beautiful. Thousands of affectionate cultural layers and 8,000 lives of cosmetic destiny are quietly hidden right there. Even in a world scarred by conflict, we still have the heart to comfort those in pain and guide them toward the rest. In Korea, we call this spirit Haewon and Cheondo. Haewon means untying the deep tangled knots of resentment in the heart. Cheondo is the sacred act of guiding a weary, wandering soul to a place of ultimate peace. As long as this warm sentiment is still pulsating and alive within us, Korean society will surely hold hands again and stay connected. There is a strange, profound beauty in seeing the latest smartphone and a yellow shamanic charm tucked in the same wallet, reading together as one. It shows how our desire for the future and our respect for the past live without a single note of contradiction. That everyday sin itself is Korea's most unique and solid way of embracing the harsh world and others. Well, that is it for today. We talked all about religion in Korea, the Korean heart, and the Korean soul. I truly hope this helps you understand Korean society and its people a little better. Every culture has its own unique spiritual DNA. What does yours look like? I'm curious to know how people in your part of the world find peace or connect with one another. Let's keep the conversation going in the comments. If you like my video, please support me with a like and subscribe. And please share your various thoughts in the comments below. This has been Hana's Island. You're safe here now. I will see you next time. Take care. Bye.